श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। My dear Lord, please guide us all so that we can learn from the example of your great devotees and ourselves act with devotion for you. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming today. So I'll start with a question. How many of you were there yesterday? Okay. How many of you were not there yesterday? Okay. How many of you are not there today? Okay. So we are discussing on the topic of Hanuman's journey to maturity, not to a physical place, but we are going to talk about how we can grow toward maturity by learning from Hanuman's example. So yesterday we had played a game. So can you once more raise your hands? How many were there yesterday? Okay, more than 50%. Thank you. 60-70%. So this game will be for those who were there yesterday only. So I'll give you, yesterday we had played a game where I give a word and then you construct a sentence based on the Ramayana or Mahabharata using that word. But today's game will be a little different, a little difficult, a little easier. Both ways. I'll give you a word and through a series of words that I give, we will construct a summary of yesterday's class. So I'll give you a word and you can think of in what context that word can be used to connect with a point or especially a pastime or incident that was described yesterday. Okay? Mischievous. Yes?
Lord Hanuman, he wanted to, he thought that the sun god is cruel, So he wanted to go and grab. So that shows the mischievousness of a child.
Yes. So Hanuman was, as a child, he was mischievous. Demigod. Yeah.
You said there are two connotations to that, either sunny god, what Prabhupada uses, but the other connotation is where it's a child of a celestial being and a human. So
Yes.
Hanumanji falls in that category.
Yeah. Actually, later I thought about Hanuman falls in both categories verses. He is also a great devotee. He's a celestial being himself. But he's a devotee, so he's not officially having a position of a devta. So the second meaning is more appropriate. It's good. So then panic. Panic. Yes.
Moment Vayudev stopped the air after seeing Hanuman in a very hurtful state. The Devtas go to panic mode. Of,
Yes. So when they saw Hanuman in a which state?
hurtful state.
Hurtful. Okay, in a lifeless state, we can say. Hurt state. Yeah, that's true. They became panicky and then they showered blessings on him. Very good. Thank you. Oh, good. It's moving forward nicely. Now, blessing and curse. Yes.
Whatever Hanuman got blessings from all the devatas because Vayudeva was angry with the
Correct. Yeah.
sun god. At the same time, he got blessings from the sages when he was mischievous. When he got more power, at the same time he got less maturity. He got blessing. So he got a curse which over time turned as a blessing.
Yes, excellent. So used blessings twice and curse once. That's good. That's a two context. Very nice. So yesterday we were discussing that there is ability or power and there is maturity. Okay, it seems I don't have much maturity in using this. Okay. So we have, so child Hanuman to adult Hanuman is this journey. He had ability but not maturity. And we'll today see how he went on this journey. And so when he was cursed, that curse was not out of hatred. That curse was also not so much out of anger. It was more for protection. And then we discussed later about graceful and grateful. Anyone remembers those two words? Yes, Prabhu.
When there is maturity but power is there, then one is grateful. But when power is not there but maturity is there, one is grateful.
Yes, yes. I try to use rhyming words. So ability and maturity I'd use, and later power with character. Yeah. So if you have character and maturity are somewhat similar. They're different, but we'll today explore that. Yeah. It is just same point. So if we can be grateful, so there's a four quadrants I discussed. Second quadrant it was. So what are the four words over here? If we have power, sorry. Oh. If I have power, if we have character. So we have both, then we are grateful. If we have character and lack power, then we'll be still graceful. Yes, Krishna, I accept gracefully whatever happens. And if we have power but no character, yes, we'll become arrogant, prideful. And if neither, resentful. This is where, why is this happening? From resentful, we can also become hateful. We can become vengeful. Why should anyone else have anything good in life? And then okay, so now I'll be talking about Hanuman's journey towards gratitude, and so not gratitude, towards maturity. So here also we will have the same word game, but it's a slightly different way. I'll be talking about 4 incidents broadly which indicates Hanuman's maturity. And after each incident I'll describe, and each feature I'll describe. So I'll stop and I will use a word which I have used in the previous section. That means in that section I have used the word. You can try to spot where I use that word. Okay. So I'll be using an acronym CARE. That when we have maturity, then we truly care. We care for the things that matter for us. Now, if you see, one of the characteristics of maturity is commitment. An immature person, they sometimes say that when the going gets tough, what happens? The tough get going. But there are other people, they get going away. They're not so tough, they go away from there, they don't get going. So now the test comes. See, Hanuman's right entry itself, that maybe a little, where is that one? When we have baby Hanuman, actually this is described later. Now when we, in the Ramayana's natural narrative, when Hanuman enters, where is he? Where is in which Kanda does the entry happen? Yes, in the Kishkinda Kanda. And then after that, sometimes in a movie or a TV series, there is some character, that character comes in and then that character becomes the show stealer. That character is so attractive that everybody is talking about that character only. So it is Ramayana, but in Sundarkand, Ram is absent. And like Hanuman steals the show from Ram. He doesn't steal the show, of course. He is serving Lord Ram. But then his character is so captivating and endearing. So he enters into the Ramayana in the section before that. So we have various kandas in the Ramayana. So what is the first kanda? Bala Kanda. That is where Lord Ram's childhood pastimes are described. Then after that, Ayodhya Kanda. This is where he is returned to Ayodhya, especially his marriage and all those are described. Then Aranya Kanda. Then Kishkinda Kanda. Then Sundara Kanda. Then after that, Yuddha Kanda. And after that, Uttar Kanda. Yes. So now Hanuman enters over here. You could say Hanuman enters over here and then he becomes like the central character over here. He becomes like a show stealer over here. So interestingly, when he enters, who is he with? He is with Sugriv. Now, if you consider, there has been a tragic misunderstanding between Sugriv and Vali. And if we consider what happened, that Vali misunderstood Sugriv first, and Sugriv actually misunderstood that Vali is dead, and Vali misunderstood that Sugriv tried to kill me so that he could take over the power. So now Vali attacked Sugriv, and Sugriv had to flee to save his life. Now at that time, Hanuman had no obligation to go. Hanuman was not a blood relative over there. Hanuman was one Vanara in the Vanara kingdom. He was powerful in his own right, but he did not have to go with Sugriv. And going with Sugriv meant that Hanuman lost everything. He himself, just as Sugriv could not go back to Kishkinda, Hanuman also could not go back to Kishkinda. And that choice itself shows his commitment. He doesn't have to be there. Like we could say, when Ram went to the forest, Lakshman followed him. Now Lakshman was also, nobody was obligated to go. The sentence was only for Ram. Sita insisted she will go because she's his wife. But when Lakshman went, we could say that he's his younger brother, and so he went. And it's not an obligation, but he felt that I am duty bound because I'm the younger brother. But when Sugriva went to the forest, there is a brother's bond over here. But when Sugriva was sent to the forest, Hanuman went with him. And that is actually simply friends. And if you see overall, it is not even friends. It is more of a servant's bond. the relationship between Sugriv and Hanuman is not exactly friendship. They're always conscious that actually Sugriv is the king or Sugriv is a member of the royal family. So Hanuman, the very fact that he left it all to be with Sugriv shows that he was a person of principles. He could have chosen, this is not my fight. They have their misunderstanding. They resolve it all. But he did not do that. He stuck with Sugriv. This also shows to some extent. Sometimes Sugriv is seen and Sugriv forgets his promise and other things. And sometimes Sugriv may not be seen as such a stellar character, such a good character. But the fact that Sugriv could attract friends like this, that also shows his character. So Hanuman and Jambavan both came with him, but we'll focus here on Hanuman. And in general, what is the opposite of commitment? Okay. One is abandonment. Let's see.
Irresponsible.
Abandonment. Irresponsible. If committed is irresponsible. Right? Indifference, apathy.
Non-committal.
Non-committal. Okay. That's a synonym. That's an antonym basically in terms of words itself. But how would non-committal be seen in terms of actions?
Wishy-washy.
Yes, wishy-washy we could say. Some people are like a chameleon. With whatever people you are, you take that form. And it's basically somebody who does not have commitment. For their primary criteria would be convenience. Now, whatever is convenient, whatever is the English word sometimes uses, expedient. Expedient is whatever is the easiest thing to do. So some politicians, they will blow whichever way the wind blows. Whatever position the voters want to hear, they'll speak those words. And by that, it is said about politicians, before the election they shake your hands, after that they shake your faith. So what happens is sometimes people they're expedient. So it could have been expedient for Hanuman. Okay, I don't want to get involved in this. But the fact that he was with Sugriv, that itself shows his commitment. And commitment is a sign of maturity. Now, maturity has many different meanings to it. One aspect of maturity. Now, how is maturity related with commitment? It requires maturity to understand that good things, they take time. They cost effort, pain. Good things in life don't come easy. That is commitment. It can arise only when we understand this. And this is the aspect of maturity. A baby who is immature, the baby is immature not intentionally, but they're just immature. For a baby, they feel hungry, start crying. They expect that somebody else has to come and feed them. And that's understandable. They can't feed themselves at that particular point. But an adult person understands, okay, I cannot just depend on others to feed me. I have to make some arrangement. So for that, maybe I have to learn cooking. Maybe I have to earn money so I can employ someone who will cook for me. Or I have to go out and make some arrangement by which I can get some food. So that when somebody is immature, they just go by the path of least resistance. And the fact that Hanuman has chosen this particular option of being with Sugriv itself shows his great maturity. And that's one aspect of maturity. And sometimes when we are criticized or we are unfairly accused of something, that accusation itself hurts. But there are people who, we may not want enemies, but we all have people who are opposed to us in some way or the other. Now the harsh words of our opponents, it hurts us. But what hurts even more is the silence of our friends. if at that time those whom we thought we could count on, they don't come and support us, and that feels very painful. We feel abandoned, we feel rejected. So that commitment, that's where sometimes you call fair weather friends. Now, as long as the weather is good, then I'm your friend. As soon as the weather becomes bad, then goodbye. So those kind of friends are not the kind of friends that we can count on. So commitment is, whether it's friendship or servitorship in the mood of friendship in the mood of servitorship, whatever be this particular flavor of the relationship that is there, Hanuman shows his commitment. And to some extent, one's maturity is seen by how one sticks through the tough times. One of the truths that only a mature person understands is about happiness in the mode of goodness. What Krishna says in 1837, Yattadagre Vishamiva Pariname Amritopamam. All the good things in life, they take time. So the mature person is able to see and push through the poison till they get to the nectar. This is a mature person. That if there's somebody immature, they look at the poison and they say, bye-bye. It's too much. I can't push through this. So sometimes it happens in youth. Sometimes students want to choose a career. I was in Stanford a couple of years ago. There was one young girl and her mother had come. And they're telling that this girl, obviously in Stanford, she's brilliant. But this was her 6th year in the first year. I said, what happened? She says, she's been changing her major for 6 years. And now she said, I want to find my passion in my life. Well, there is your whole life to find your passion. First, get a degree. Now, sometimes people, nowadays, this whole idea is that if you can't find your passion, your life has no meaning. No. It's not that you have to find our passion. Sometimes we have to create meaning in our life. So uncommitted means that I'm not criticizing her in that sense, but it is, you can't be so fickle. You can't just keep changing a major from 1 year to next year, second year. Commit to one thing. Sometimes this may not be the best thing for us, but let's do it. Let's learn. Let's grow in character. Let's grow in commitment. And then we can explore other things later. So commitment means that sometimes what happens is we ask the question. We are all determined to a large extent by the question that we are asking. So when it is said that the animals are always asking question, where is food? Where is sex? Where is strength? Where is shelter? That kind of things. So we humans can ask bigger questions. The question can be, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? But even then, commitment means that we could ask 2 questions. What is the meaning of life? And that's a very important question. Now, that question is a philosophical question, and that takes time to find an answer to. But we can ask a much more practical question. What can I do right now to increase the meaning in my life? What can I do right now to increase the meaning in my life? What does this mean? Now we may say the meaning of life is we want to go back to Krishna. Okay, that seems to be a long way away and we have a whole lifetime before that. What do I do in that lifetime? Okay, is there one service I am meant to do? How will I find that service? Well, maybe it will take time. Right now, what can I do? Say all of you, you could have stayed home and watched TV. You could have done so many things. Just to come here. You hope to learn something meaningful. Oh, I could have been in India. I'm traveling here because I feel that sharing the message of the Gita adds meaning to my message of Shastras, adds meaning to my life. And hopefully it adds meaning to somebody else's life. So it is this question, how can I add meaning to my life right now? What can I do right now? Maybe I can just speak one kind word. Maybe I can learn this particular skill. Maybe I can just push through this project and complete it just so that I can learn the ethos of responsibility and discipline. So commitment is a sign of maturity. And Hanuman exhibits that. So children can be very fickle. And that's why parents have to push children at times. Children may not feel like studying, but you have to study. So his commitment shows his maturity. So this is the first part, where Hanuman's very entry is itself a sign of his maturity, that where he is. Okay, so the word here is, okay, a commitment, but that's not the word for a sentence. That would be too obvious in one sense. So misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Where was that word used just now? In what was described? Yeah, can you make a sentence good?
The brothers had a misunderstanding where Vali misunderstood that Sugriv wanted to kill him by putting the stone on the cave
Yeah.
and usurp the kingdom.
Okay, true.
Different misunderstanding. We thought Vali is dead and that's why he covered the cave.
Duty bound. Thank you. Duty bound. Who was duty bound? Yeah.
Hanumanji thought he was duty. No, Lakshmanji thought he was duty bound to serve the Ram, and he also followed Ram to the forest.
Yes, very good. As contrasted with? You are on the right track right in the beginning. Yeah, Hanuman.
Was serving.
Yeah, so you could say that Hanuman was not duty bound because he was not a blood relative. But still Hanuman went, and that shows his character. Okay. So now after that, see Hanuman sometimes, if you consider a movie analogy, I don't want to remind you of movies. There are two ways you become Krishna conscious. One is you bring Krishna into your consciousness. So we bring Krishna into our consciousness. That means we hear Krishna's pastimes, we chant Krishna's name, we behold Krishna's beautiful pictures. And the other is we bring what is in our consciousness to Krishna. That means whatever things naturally interest us, we try to connect them with Krishna. So now, if we consider movies, most of us have probably watched movies, and we live in a world where the culture is shaped by movies. So often the entry of a character is quite dramatic, or it signifies how the character is going to be. So Hanuman's entry seems to be a bit undramatic over here. When Ram and Lakshmana are entering into Kishkinda, Ram is in agony, in pain, crying out, "Where will Sita be? Is she safe? She's not safe." And seeing this, Sugriva, he's out on top of the Mandar mountain, and from there he sees, and he gets alarmed. Who are these people? See, when we see someone, we want to put people into some identifiable categories. Say, if somebody comes in and, is this person Indian? Is this person American? Or if this person is Indian, South Indian. Now, somebody looks like an Indian, but they have a very much American accent. Maybe there's an American Indian or Indian American or whatever category you want to put it. Sometimes you can't fit in categories. Then there's a little bit of a concern. So if we see somebody coming at night and that person looks like a relative, okay, this person relative, but then we see they have a gun. Okay, this person impersonating my relative, who is it? So when Sugriv sees, he says, oh, these people are dressed like sages, but then they are carrying weapons. Who are they? He becomes alarmed. Are these people sent by Vali to assassinate me? The way Sugriv is living, it's a very fearful state. He's constantly worried whether Vali is going to get him. And for Vali, it's very frustrating. It's that Sugriv, he wants to punish him, he wants to kill him, and Sugriv is right next to him. But he just cannot go there. Why? Because of a curse. So, I was in Singapore, I was giving this class, and I said that, Vali felt about Vali felt about this Rishabh mountain and that area where Sugriv was there. Vali felt the way China feels about Taiwan. So he just could get there. But then also China would attack in some other way. So then, while Sugriv went to Hanuman, he says, you find out who are they. So then Hanuman went there. And now, Lord Ram is in agony. And the first thing that happens is that as Hanuman approaches them and Hanuman speaks, that his words are so sweet, so soothing, that Hanuman speaks a few words, introducing himself, asking who they are. He doesn't tell his original identity, but he just speaks very sweetly. And Ram turns towards Hanuman, so it's Lakshman, and he says, whoever this person is, this person must be learned in all the Vedas. This person must be brought up by wonderful parents. This person must have great samskaras from a previous life. Just by those words, he praises Hanuman so much. And this is where actually, if we consider, he talks about two things. And the gopis also talk about the same two things when they talk about Krishna. Madhuraya gira valguvakyaya. So Madhuraya gira is that Krishna has a sweet voice. And valguvakyaya. Valguvakyaya means pleasing, touching, loving words. So now the most effective speech is where a person has a sweet voice and speaks very pleasing words. Now all combinations, some people may have a very sweet voice and somebody might be a great singer. And a person may have a sweet voice, but if you meet them backstage, one devotee friend he had, before he came to Bhakti, he was big into music, so he told me he was a big fan of a prominent Indian musician and he had a voice which is like pure gold. So he finally got in that studio and he went on the backstage, he wanted to meet them. And that same person, when he went on backstage, and that person with that same golden voice was literally hurling obscenities at all the studio staff. Like you might hear on the streets of some of the more violent areas in his cry. All kinds of obscenities, he said. It was just the biggest disappointment of my life at that time. Some people may have sweet voice and they sweetly speak hurtful words. Isn't it? So it's good to have a sweet voice. Now some people they can't be helped. They just have a raspy voice. Their voice is maybe because of some speech deformity or whatever, throat problem or whatever. We all have a natural voice from birth. Now we can't control how sweet our voice is, but we can try to speak in a way that is pleasing. So Krishna says, Anudvegakaram Vakyam. He says in 1715 that the austerity of speech, it doesn't say speak sweetly, because that's not in our control. In the sense that our voice is not sweet. We can try to speak sweetly in the sense that we can speak words that are pleasing, that are encouraging, that are appreciative. So Hanuman, he falls in this category. He has sweet voice and he's speaking pleasing words. And life is tough. We all can find faults with each other. And there are many faults to find with each other also. But if we can just appreciate and encourage each other, now one encouragement can just change the spirit of a person. Maybe you can, sometimes you speak some word of appreciation and the other person will say, you made my day today. It can one heartfelt appreciation can power a person for a whole day. Maybe sometimes it can power a person for weeks. So Hanuman exhibits this ability that he at this particular point is a character. So interestingly, Hanuman was earlier known for power. But now his power is not seen only. He is subordinate to Sugriv also. And Sugriv himself is not the most powerful monkey. Sugriv is persecuted by Vali. So that same Hanuman who had such extraordinary blessings in his childhood, first we see his commitment. And then we see he's praised for his sweet speech. And then what Hanuman does is, he ensures that there is an alliance formed between Ram and Sugriv. So what was the acronym we were discussing? CARE. So I'm right now discussing about alertness. Now, one aspect of a mature person is they're not just caught in their own head and their own thoughts. They're alert. Okay, this is the purpose I am here for, and that's the purpose that you are supposed to do. Sometimes we send somebody to, okay, you go and inform them and get this from that place. And they go there and they start talking with that person, and they get so caught in talking, and they come back. Oh, did you get that? Oh, I forgot. They become yoga brashta. Just get lost. So actually being alert to our purpose. So he's alert, his speech is there, but it's not just his speech. He ensures that later on, and Sugriv offers a seat to Ram, Sugriv neglects Lakshman. But Hanuman and Lakshman have a special bond. And it's because they are both in similar situations. That Hanuman is there in the forest not because of any target on him. So Lakshman is not in the forest not because of any target on him. So he offers a seat to Lakshman. And then later on, when Sugriv gains the kingdom back, then what happens? Now, Sugriv has been for years in an area with no Wi-Fi. And then he comes to an area with full Wi-Fi. And he goes on a 4-month Netflix binge. So he just forgets everything. Sarva dharman parityajya maya mekam sharanam vraja. So now, as these 4 months go forward, come to the end, then it is that Hanuman alerts him. Actually, 3 people alert him. First is Hanuman alerts him. Then Tara alerts him. And then after that, Lakshman. Lakshman just alerts him. Lakshman agitates him. Lakshman is agitated and he agitates him. But either way, at that particular time, the true friendship is, okay, when the friend is in trouble, we stand by the friend when they're in trouble. But true friendship also means when the friend is getting oneself into trouble, we don't stand and go with them into trouble. We try to stop them. We try to warn them. That is also friendship. So his alertness is seen. Now here I'm talking about alertness primarily in terms of his relation. So first, when he enters, at this particular point, he doesn't have a relationship with Ram. So it is generally a person's character, a person's maturity, a person's virtues, they are seen in relationships. It's in isolation. I can be very humble when there's no one with me. Isn't it? What does it require? There's an American comedian, he said, I love humanity. It's only human beings I can't get along with. So, most of our virtues are seen in relationships. So here, first he shows his commitment. His alertness is in forging an alliance for Sugriv. And then, after that, in warning. So both of these he does. And in this way, again, a mature person, one of the characteristics is that they're alert. They're not just caught in their head. For many people, there's so much drama going on inside their head only that they're not even aware what's going on in the world, what to speak of having an opportunity or noticing an opportunity and tapping an opportunity. So he's alert over there. So here, so this is the second part. I'll move to the last 2 parts now. But with respect to alertness, with this particular incident, agony. Oh my God, I'll be in agony if you don't remember the word agony. Who was in agony? Yes?
When Hanuman was sent by Sugriv to find who these two persons were, Lord Ram was in agony in separation from Sita.
Yes, true. Beautiful, good. So, category. Okay, maybe category is a little complicated word over here. It's a simple word, but to put in this context is. Yes?
Prabhuji, Lakshman and Hanumanji were in the same category.
Superb. Excellent. They're the same category. Actually, I didn't think of that sentence. I had a different sentence in mind. And we try to put people into categories when we observe them. So Sugriv was alarmed because he could not put Ram and Lakshman in the category. Are they sages? Are they warriors? They're sages, but they have weapons like warriors. He just couldn't make sense. But it's a brilliant sentence. Thank you. So now, the third part we'll discuss is responsible. Now, if you see, after this, what happens is that they decide to go on a search for Sita. And this is where Hanuman starts coming into his own. That there is this whole concept of like leadership without position. Leadership position without position, or influence without authority. Now, sometimes somebody may get a position of being a leader. Now, when the Vanaras start searching for Sita, the group that goes south, who is the leader of that group? Angad. So now it's interesting that Sugriv and Angad have a bit of a tense relationship. Although Vali had tried to pacify things, and Vali had told Angad, "Now don't hold Sugriv responsible for my death. It's my own karma that has killed me." And he tells Sugriv, "Please, whatever, I persecuted you, but neither Angad nor Tara had anything to do with it. Please don't get back at them for what I did." So he tries to create a reconciliation. And yet, for Angad, one day his father is the king, and the next day, not only is his father dead, but the person who was directly or indirectly responsible for his father's death is now the king, and he has to serve that person. It's not an easy situation for him to be in. And because Sugriv also wants to bond with Angad, so Sugriv goes out of his way to respect and accommodate him. That's why he makes Angad the leader of the group. And this is the most important group, because the Vanaras have seen Ravan going southwards. And they've also heard that Ravana's abode is in the south. Now, whether he has gone to his abode or has gone somewhere else with Sita, we don't know. But that's the most clue that they have. And that's why that's the direction they are likely to find. So Sugriv entrusts a big responsibility to Angad. And that's how he wants to have a relationship with him also. Now, interestingly, Lord Ram, whom does he entrust this particular task of finding Sita? Hanuman. He calls Hanuman and he gives his own signet. He gives him a memento by which Sita will be able to identify and remember him. Hanuman could have said, "You're tasking me with this responsibility. You make me the leader of the group. You make me the official leader." See, many people, when responsibility is given or when responsibility is available, they wait first for the position. Let me get the position. So, this is this book which I have written about, Gita for the CEO. There I talk about this two things in leadership. There is the position of a leader and there is the disposition of a leader. Now, if we see, Krishna himself never becomes the official king of Dwarka. Of course, he's glorified as Dwarkadhish. He's the king of all kings. But he in the Dwarka's hierarchy, he remains the servant of Ugrasen, who is the actual king. So Krishna doesn't take the position of leadership officially, but still he is the protector of Dwarka. So many of us may feel, yes, I want to do a lot, but I just don't have the resource, I just don't have the position. Once I have that, then I'll do it. So now the real test is that if we could say if we have position and disposition, we can be maximum effective. It's true, but sometimes we don't have that. So Hanuman, he earns the position of leadership. And that is a remarkable journey. How he does that. So being responsible, now we could say sometimes if we could be responsible in either of these categories. Like we have the position and we use the position. But even if we don't have the position, we can be responsible. And now he is given the special task. The Vanaras start off. And as they're going south, they're trying to search and search. Initially they have huge enthusiasm. They're eager to find Sita. But then as they keep searching and searching, and there's no clue of Sita anywhere. And then they start getting discouraged. And they go into a deserted area. Or at least an area where they can't even find any water. And they start getting, what do we do at such a time? So this is where Hanuman is observing. Now Jambavan is there, Jambavan has become a little old. Hanuman is there, Angad is there. So Hanuman observes. Hanuman observes, he says, there's a cave and there's a bird coming out of the cave. And the bird is dripping water. So, okay, Hanuman points to the other Vanaras. He points to Angad. Angad says, yes, let's go there. By this time, they're so exhausted. So without food, without water, it's very difficult for them to go on. And when they finally come to that particular cave, they look inside. And the cave seems to be huge. They can't see anything inside. And now Angad, he's young, he's born in royalty. And they respect him because he is the prince. But still, when Vali was the king, Vali was so powerful that nobody would dare threaten Kishkinda. That's why Angad does not have much experience of real world war. He's very powerful. He is a hero. And he has not led anyone on an expedition like this. He just doesn't know what to do. So Hanuman, without sidelining Angad, without minimizing his position, gently suggests, let's all hold each other's hands and go inside so that nobody gets lost in the cave. And they all start going inside. They go in and in and in. For a long distance they go into that cave. And finally they see a light over there. And as they come closer, okay, what is this light? And they see that there is lush greenery and there are fruits and there is a lake and there's wonderful water over there. And the Vanaras start running in to try to eat and drink. And Hanuman says, wait. Let's try to find out what this place is. And he keeps everyone to wait and then look around and they see that there is a yogini sitting over there. She's sitting with the effulgence coming from her body. And she looks very serene. And Hanuman goes there and offers her respect, gives respects to her. Who is this yogini? Sorry? Okay, Anasuya is whom? Ram, Lakshman, Sita meet earlier. This is Swayam Prabha. Swayam Prabha is a celestial maid. She said that she has been, Indra long ago had an Apsara for whom he had created a replica of heaven on the earth. And then later on that Apsara went with him to heaven and she wanted to have this as a retreat center. No, she said she had interested Swayam Prabha as the person to take care of it. And she explains all this. She says, you have come here, the servants of Ram, you can have whatever you want. Swayamprabha has some mystical power. She's from the heavens. She recognizes who they are. And then the Vanaras eat and they eat and they drink water and they get rejuvenated. And then Angad turns. It's been a long, long way inside. How do we go back from here? Can you tell us the way? And Swayamprabha says, Indra has arranged so that anybody who comes in here will never be able to go back. So you're telling this to us now? He said there is so much heavenly wealth over here that there will be many from earth who would come here and plunder the wealth and take it all away. Therefore it's arranged, this path is arranged in such a magical, mystical way that anybody who comes in here will never be able to go out. Now Angad gets angry. Tell us how to go out, otherwise. Hanuman says, calm down. Gently Hanuman taps on his shoulders. He says, and we saw that bird going out. His birds are no threat to the treasure here. Yes. So we are also not a threat. We don't want any of this wealth. Now, we may not be able to go, but I'm sure you have the power. You please help us come out of this. And we are only here to serve Lord Ram. We have no interest in the treasure over here. You have helped us, you have given us food, you have given us water, we are grateful. Please bless us so that we can go on our mission. So what Ram said earlier, Hanuman's sweet speech, pleasing words, that's not just a one-time observation. That is what Hanuman uses over here. So sometimes when we have to get things done, we can try to use force, and that's required at times. But generally, trying to force others to do things, it over a period of time backfires. Unless we can actually connect with them and with our earnestness, with our sweetness, appeal to them, we can't really push forward. So responsibility is like leader is supposed to have power. But the biggest power a leader is supposed to have is not just over others. Leader needs to have power over one's own temper, one's own emotions, one's own speech. And that's the responsibility that Hanuman shows over here. So Swayamprabha says, yes, I can help you. But he says, I have to honor Indra's words. That Indra wants this place to be secret. He says, all of you will have to close your eyes. You close your eyes and then I will take you out. They all close their eyes. And in one moment, Swayamprabha uses mystical powers and she brings them out. And then she brings them out, not just on the same side of the mountain, they come on the other side of the mountain. And they are closer to the ocean. And in this way, so here, we're talking about how Hanuman, you don't have to have a leadership position. That influence without authority comes from capability. If somebody has capability, they will be recognized. They will be able to fix problems. And now, after this, they keep searching. And they search. And then what happens is that they're searching, they're close to the ocean, and they're thinking that, okay, across the ocean is. But then, as they're waiting, they start seeing the huge ocean. And they start thinking, wow, this ocean is so big, what do we do? And now at this point, they're not even sure that Lanka is across the ocean. They just see we are at end, we don't even know whether we should go across. If you're going to scale the ocean, they have to have some assurance that Lanka is across the ocean. So as they're sitting, they've worked very hard and they've not got anywhere and closer to finding Sita. Now, one danger has passed. They seem to have come out of the danger, but then another danger is there. This is that Sugriv had told all the Vanaras, come back within 1 month. If anybody is later than 1 month, they will be executed. You see, that's very harsh. Why execute him? The point is that he may not have executed them, but that was a way to ensure compliance, that you take this mission seriously. As Vanaras, you can't just wander around and eat fruits and not do your mission. So now 1 month has already passed. And the Vanaras are in two minds, when they go into Swayamprabha's cave and come out, they realize that more time has passed now. And now some of the Vanaras say that, no, Sugriva had told us to come back within 1 month. It's over. We should go back. We should inform him what has happened. Other Vanaras say, we should keep pressing on, find Sita. Others say, now, there are other Vanaras who are very discouraged. Now, Angad, now there's one Vanara who says that actually maybe we should go back into Swayamprabha's cave and we'll hide over there, we'll live over there only. And Hanuman says that, if you betray Sugriva like this, he'll be very angry with you. And then Angad, he explodes, he says that. But if we go back, he will have all of us killed. So Hanuman says, no, why would he kill all of us? He said he had no hesitation to get his brother killed. Now, if we go back and we have failed in the mission and we are also late in coming back, he will have us executed in front of all of our family and friends and we'll be humiliated. So Angad still has that bitterness. And now here, this comes the biggest test of Hanuman. And that's the last part we'll talk about. What is the acronym? CARE. So I'll skip the part of the game which you're having because I just want to finish the class in time. So E is empathy. Generally in an army, at one level there is hierarchy. Whoever is your leader, you have to follow them. Other level, speaking against the king or speaking against the leader, that's considered rebellion, that's considered treason, that's considered to be insurrection, a very serious crime. So now, when Sugriva starts speaking, when Sugriva is spoken of negatively by Angad, Hanuman faces a test over here. Hanuman could have got angry with Sugriva, with Angad. But Hanuman understands. And Angad has been given this huge responsibility. This is the new political dispensation. Like say normally what happens is if one political party is in power, that political party goes quite often, many of the top leaders, even diplomats or bureaucrats, they also resign because they are all associated with the previous party. New people come in. If somebody from the old dispensation is there, they have to prove their loyalty. Are you here for this? So Angad has been given this assignment and he is not able to fulfill it. He is frustrated. So is he really suspicious of Sugriva? Does he really think Sugriva is malicious? And should Hanuman get on his case? Hanuman just stays calm. He says, Angad is just at this point is a teenager. He's a young adult, if not a teenager. He's been entrusted this huge responsibility, and quite often anger or even hateful speech or hurtful words, they come not from they can come from two different places. They can come from a place of enmity, or they can come from a place of insecurity. The two are very different. Enmity is where that person wants to destroy us and they're just venting it out. They're just bringing it out at particular times. But sometimes they can come from a place of insecurity. Somebody spread some nasty rumor about us. Now, what kind of person would do something like this? It's a terrible thing to do. But they could do it because they hate us, they are enemies. Or they could do it because, I thought that, you are so good now. If everybody respects you, then nobody will care for me. And I'll be lost. And I feel great fear because of that. Now, it's not a good thing to do. But some action coming from a place of insecurity is very different from action coming from a place of enmity. Everybody has insecurities in their life. So, Hanuman tries to pacify the one and says, Sugriva is a just ruler. And let's try to stay calm. Let's make a decision what to do. See, any big expedition, any big project that we try to do, there'll always be differences of opinion. And now, when there are differences of opinion, there's a problem. How do you solve a problem? Sometimes the only way to, sometimes you just can't solve a problem. Especially the problem that comes from difference of opinion, the only way to solve that is that Krishna sends a bigger problem. And that bigger problem forces us to forget our differences and unite to face that problem. So the Vanaras, some of the Vanaras, especially those who are Anga, they say, we are not finding Sita, we have searched and searched. And we cannot go back. We'll be humiliated, we'll be executed. Say, better that we end our life here. Says, we will fast to death. And so there is this act, suicide. Now, interestingly, everything can be in the three modes. So there can be suicide in Sattva Guna. Now, how can suicide be in Sattva Guna? Normally we'll think it's Tamas. That's true, it's in Tamas normally. But suicide in Sattva Guna means that if a person feels that there is no point for me to live anymore, then they decide that I will no longer maintain my body. Just stop eating and stop drinking. That can be done out of frustration, but that can also be done out of enlightenment. Now, some sages, traditionally this is called as Praya Vrata. Praya Vrata. The first sannyasi in ISKCON who got Parkinson's was an Indian sannyasi named Narmada Maharaj. So he went to Vrindavan, and it was incurable for him at that time. Advanced, this was many years ago. So he just stopped eating food. So some of his god brothers, senior, said, please eat something, Maharaj. He said, this body is meant to serve Krishna. If I cannot serve Krishna, why should I maintain this body? And then I think he fasted for something like 32, 33 days, and then he very gracefully left his body. So Prayavrata is very different from suicide. Suicide is often where people use some artificial means to end their life. But it is naturally we stop mending. So the Vanaras decide that we are just going to fast to death. And as they stand in a row, now Hanuman is trying to pacify them, Hanuman is trying to encourage them, but things are just going out of control. And not all the Vanaras sit there, but now Hanuman is torn. Should I just go back? I keep searching, should I abandon these Vanaras? And at that time, a giant vulture comes over there. Or a giant vulture like being starts walking over there. Walking, not even walking properly, like doddering and walking us. And he starts looking at all the Vanaras and licking his lips. He says, today I'm going to feast. And the Vanaras start panicking. They have decided to die, but still, it's one thing to know that I'm going to die, it's another thing to know that as soon as I die, my body is going to be ripped apart by someone. Or before I die, only the body is going to be ripped apart. Who knows? So the Vanaras start panicking, and then Angada speaks, alas, it seems that we are going to fail in our service to Lord Ram despite our best efforts, just as the valiant Jatayu failed in his service to Ram. Now, there is this whole thing called coincidence. Nowadays, the word coincidence is not so much common. In New Age, there is another word called synchronicity. Have you heard this word? Synchronicity is where multiple things happen at the same time. So, sometimes when it is that coincidences are God's ways of staying anonymous. Krishna sometimes does something just by making two things happen at the same time. So now, Angad, why would he remember Jatayu at this particular time? And why would he speak about Jatayu? That itself shows that how Angad was also dedicated, devoted to Ram's service. Jatayu fought valiantly till his last breath, and he was just too much for him because he was elderly. And Angad is thinking about Jatayu at a moment when he's about to fast to death and he sees this giant vulture going to eat them up. So that phrase, those sentence itself and that memory itself shows his devotion to Ram. And Hanuman, he could have antagonized Angada, he could have fought with Angada, he could have criticized Angada, but he saw it, he's frustrated. But he basically still has that disposition. He wants to serve. He wants to serve Ram. He wants to be of a system. He's just frustrated. So everybody in life gets angry. And sometimes anger is not because the person is short-tempered. Anger is just because the person cares so much. Our anger shows how much we care. Now, of course, anger is not the only way we show how much we care. If that is there, then that's not good. But Sugri, Hanuman, by his empathy, he keeps Angada. Although Angada doesn't stop from wanting to end his life, but Angada still, that service attitude is not lost for him. He speaks those words and suddenly then, Sampati freezes. He says, what did you say? What happened to Jatayu? Oh, Vanaras, please tell me. And then the Vanaras surprised, so, who are you? You know Jatayu? He says, Jatayu is my younger brother. I am Sampati. And I have not seen him for many, many years. Then Sampati starts telling the story of how he and Jatayu had both tried to rise up high into the sky and go close to the sun. And then they both started getting burned. So Sampati, the elder brother, spread his wings to shelter Jatayu. So his wings got burnt and he fell to the ground. And since then they have been separated. So then Angada tells Jatayu about the story of Jatayu. And Sampati starts lamenting. So, alas, I protected my brother at that time from the sun. But how unfortunate I am that I could not protect my brother from this demon. So I am old and weak and frail. I cannot do anything right now. And we request the Vanaras that please take me by the waters and help me to do the last, to offer some water for my brother. They do that and he's still lamenting. Alas, I cannot do anything for my brother. I cannot avenge his death. I cannot punish the demon who killed him. And at that time, Angada thinks, says, Vulture, you must have very sharp eyes. Did you see Ravan going by? Do you know where Ravan is? And hearing this, Sampati perks up. He says, yes, I can do some service for the cause for which my brother laid his life down. And he says, although my body has become frail, my vision is still sharp. He says, I can see that across the ocean in Lanka, there is Sita. And Ravan has her. And I feel confident that you will soon go there and find Sita and come back. So this is where the Vanara's joint mission finally brings them to a place where now they can leap across Lanka. And then all of them are eager to do the service, but none of them is capable of doing the service. And that's when everybody is talking and falling silent. Then Jambavan turns towards Hanuman. And that's when he reminds him of Hanuman. And then from here onwards, there's Hanuman's solo mission. He's alone going into Lanka and doing extraordinary things in the service of Ram. But before he gains his power back, he has shown how he has matured so dramatically. So that maturity is what will stand him in good stead when he faces the obstacles in the ocean, when he faces the obstacles in Lanka, and when he finally meets Sita and is victorious over there also. This is the journey of Hanuman to maturity. And as Jambavan speaks to him, Hanuman, who has just been silent all this time, till now Hanuman has done wonderful things, but it is not primarily by his power. It is by his intelligence, it is by his expertise, by his sensitivity. One of the qualities of Hanuman says, Buddhimatam Varishtam. Among the wise people, he is the best. So his wisdom, his maturity, his empathy, all these are seen over here. And then Hanuman will go on his glorious journey to Lanka, which will be like a spectacular success for him. So I'll summarize what we discussed today. Broadly, today we discussed about how Hanuman regains his power. Before regaining his power, that is how his maturity is seen. The maturity of Hanuman, it is seen in broadly 4 ways. What was the acronym? Care. C was commitment. So all the good things in life often require time and effort. So the opposite of committed is often fickle, like a chameleon. A person, then things get tough, then some people just go away from those things. But Hanuman sticks with Sugriv. So Hanuman being with Sugriv, even when he had no reason to be in terms of a blood obligation, that shows that he has become committed. That itself a sign of opportunity, of maturity. A is alertness. So for all of us, we all can think about our maturity in different ways. Am I committed to things? Am I ready to persist in something even amid great difficulties? Prabhupada is committed to sharing Krishna's mission no matter what happened. Prabhupada is alert to look for opportunities. Where can I serve Krishna? What can I do to serve Krishna? So Hanuman's alertness is seen in 2 ways. One is his speech, by which he forms an alliance with Sugriv. And then alliance between Ram and Sugriv. And then there is his warning. He doesn't get infatuated like Sugriv does, but he helps Sugriv come to sobriety. Then R was responsible, can mean many different things, but here I specifically use in the sense of that you take the service even without waiting for the position. So the position may or may not come. So a truly responsible person, somebody who's a leadership quality is that they may have the position or they don't have the position, but they always have the disposition. So we discuss how Hanuman, especially his responsible nature, is seen in his dealings with Swayam Prabha in the cave. So where he does not lose his cool, he does not attack, he respectfully acts over there. And last was empathy. So this is especially seen with Angad. And Angad starts speaking rebellious words against Sugriv. That is, so his hurtful words or his harsh words or his aggressive actions, you could say, his aggressive or treasonous words, whatever you want to use, those come not from a place of enmity, they come from a place of insecurity. So sometimes when somebody speaks something which is very shocking, you say, how can you speak like this? You are committing a Vaishnava aparadha, you'll go to hell because of this. Instead of that, okay, try to understand where that person is coming from. Not that we want to encourage Vaishnava aparadha, but we want to understand. So he sees that it's coming from insecurity and he calms him, he pacifies him. And eventually, Krishna sends help. Lord Ram sends help. Tadgati vigna dhamsakarama. Lord Ram sends help in the form of Sampati, who comes with a bigger danger. But from that bigger danger comes opportunity. And that's how eventually Hanuman will be able to go across Lanka and be victorious in a most spectacular way. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Let us pray to Hanumanji that by his mercy we all can, in our life and in our service, we all can stay committed despite temptations, despite the opportunity of shortcuts, despite our mind's tendency to be fickle, that we may always be all alert to find better ways to do our dharma, to do our seva, and to try to improve by finding new ways as well as doing what we are doing better. And let's pray that we can be responsible so that we don't complain, we don't have the facilities, but that we tap whatever opportunities we have without waiting for the position. And then when we are working with other devotees, with other people, other family members, rather than judging them and condemning them, we can all have empathy by which we can help them go through difficulties and not just get break down but rise up stronger and better. Shri Hanuman Ji ki Jai. Shri Ramachandra Bhagwan ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank Gaur Premanande. Thank you. Do we have a few minutes for questions? Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for the wonderful class and enlightenment with all the Hanumanji's qualities. I have a question. In one of the slides you mentioned about Krishna consciousness in two ways. Can you please go back to that slide, Prabhuji? And can you please explain the difference between those two?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm flattered that you consider these to be slides. Okay. Yeah, I can slide through them. So that's one reason. So now, bring Krishna into our consciousness is something which is straightforward. We all understand that. That it basically means that we come to a temple, we go to a holy place, and that's how we bring Krishna into our consciousness. So now, what does bring what is in our consciousness to Krishna mean? It means, it can mean two broad things. One is that when we live in the world, there are certain internal things. Internally, we are attracted to certain things. And externally, there are some attractive things. Now, we can call the external attractive things as Maya, as sense objects. And that is true, but that's one way of looking at it. We could call them as these external objects, we could call them as Vishay. Vishay is sense objects. But another way of looking at this is, it is Vibhuti. This is what Krishna talks about in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam shrimad urjitam eva tattad eva avagachattam mama tejo amsha sambhava. So there are many attractive things in this world, and if we can develop the vision to see that the attractiveness of these objects comes from Krishna, then this is already in our consciousness and we can connect with Krishna. So if somebody has a great interest for art or music or decoration or whatever it is that they have interest in, then those things will naturally be there in their consciousness. And can they connect that with Krishna? Okay. So for them, they can remember Krishna in many different ways. But if they have to do some art, they'll just get completely immersed. If they want to get into some music, they'll get completely transported to another domain. So what is naturally in our consciousness, that could be because maybe that person grew up in a place where there was a lot of beautiful art, a lot of musical culture was there, whatever it is. It could be external, it could be internal. So internally, when we are internally attracted to something, we can say that is, in a negative sense, it's our vasana. We all have lust, anger, greed, all this. But our internal attraction could also be the vritti that we have according to our varna. Varna means, it's not simply a category of Brahman, Kshatriya, Shudra. It is actually the natural attraction of our consciousness to certain things. So if we are naturally attracted to some things, then we could use those to connect with Krishna and to serve Krishna thereby. So what does this mean practically? That if we already have some natural interests or talents, so if somebody has a lot of interest in, say, architecture, then you could say the interest in architecture is mundane. Or maybe they say, I like to see different architecture, but let me look at, say, architecture that is connected with sacred things. Maybe what kind of temples were built? What was the architecture in that? So the interest in architecture is already in our consciousness. We can bring it to Krishna. So to bring what is in our consciousness to Krishna. That is also one way to cultivate Krishna consciousness. And that way, because that thing is already in our consciousness, it will be easier for us. We can very, you could say, comfortably and joyfully connect with Krishna in this way. So it's important for all of us to find that. It's important to help our children find that. I was in America and staying at one devotee's home, and America is here only. So okay. So anyway, so this devotee, that the mother is a double PhD, the father is a PhD. They're brilliant, and those combined genes are there in their kid. So this kid, he was 10, and he was in the part of the American National Robotics team. Apparently, the robotics Olympiad is there, and he was going to represent America. And I was talking with the kid a little bit. It's brilliant. And then his mother was telling me, till 5 he was very interested in Krishna. And then he discovered robots and he forgot Krishna. So now he always is talking about robots only. So then I was talking with the parent, then this boy came, I started talking with him. And then I asked him that, when you make robots for these competitions, what kind of robots do you make? So he said that mostly it's Amazon which is funding the robotics industry. They want very efficient robots for packing, unpacking, transporting. They want to replace labor with robots as much as possible. So they are the main driver. So robots with efficient movements of body. That's what we look for. So then when I was asking a few questions about robots, he was so enthusiastic. It was like the Ganga flowing through his mouth. When Nimai Pandit asked Keshav Kashmir to glorify Ganga, he spoke 100 verses spontaneously. So I felt he was so enthusiastic. I asked him that, in these robotic competitions, do they like innovative ideas? He said, yeah, innovation is appreciated very much. Then I said, what do you think about making a robot of Krishna speaking the verses of the Gita? So he said, no, that's not a good idea. And he walked away. And I continued talking with his parents. Then after 5 minutes he came back, that's not such a bad idea. Nobody else will think like this. And then he said, nowadays there's this whole emphasis on diversity and inclusivity. So yeah, I'll think about it. Then a week later his parents called me and he says, he's now reading the Bhagavad Gita to find out which verses will sound cool on his robot. So the idea is that if there are some things which you're naturally attracted to, we don't have to simply dismiss them as mundane. Sometimes we have to be a little more creative in seeing how those things can be connected with Krishna. So let's bring what is in our consciousness to Krishna. Okay? Thank you very much. Any other questions? So thank you very much. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. So it is wonderful to be here in Portland. Every year I come and all of